facing the police every single day.
Say hi, Andy. I'm recording you.
Alright, you get the whole thing, right?
I got you.
Ocean City cops are not people.
Yes, they are. You know what's really criminal?
What's that?
Those knee-high socks.
I know, but that's what the brown shirts wore.
Hey, Shark County, this is Shark County Cop Watch, and we have another Brady's List, and this time it's from the 18th Circuit Court. And again, like I said, we've been trying to get this for years. We're finding out that they're illegally, I found out, changing the name so we can't get it. And this one they call the Mandatory Disclosure Warning. This is Seminole County Criminal Justice, Sanford, Florida area. So this is where it's from. This is what we believe it's really supposed to look like. It has a name. It's got their offense. There's 15 pages here of people that cannot testify because they've been busted for shit. They lied, just et cetera, on and on. I'm going to do a screen read. And wow, this is a beautiful thing and a sad thing. Also, too, now that you have all these names, you can start pulling records on them to find out exactly, you know, this gives a little idea what they did, but you can pull the police reports and find out and expose them all. Our system is corrupt to the core. We're a banana republic. Take a goddamn country back while you still can.
Directory Mandatory Disclosure Warning. Name, address. Anderson, Victor. Confidential address. Brady disclosure, per memo from MPD Chief Price dated June 2, 2017, officer was found to have violated MPD General Orders 26.2.2 Conduct on and off duty. 26.2.23 Professional competence, 42.1.3 Preliminary investigations, and 42.1.25 Witness statements. Cabranes, Jorge. Confidential address. Brady disclosure, per email from Asa Bill Respes on July 27, 2018, officer was reprimanded in early 2018 for evidence handling violation. There was a possible conflict in officer's testimony and that of another officer regarding the handling of evidence. Carpenter, Ryan. Confidential address. It was determined that Ryan Carpenter testified under oath during a deposition, consistent with what was written in his report in case number 2018 CF 32877, but contrary to what is shown on video surveillance. Gualtieri, Michael. Brady issue, CPD sustained findings of violation of GO 1584, 1, report writing, GO 09354, F, 2, traffic crash investigation, and GO 07304, E, 1, violation of pursuit policy on July 12, 2016 by LT Duvale. Condon, Shireen unknown. Per ID presented by Ms. Condon. Photo ID reflects C536-793-82-842-0. Mandatory disclosure. Shireen Condon, CS Angeline is her moniker, has 2 pending arrest cases. May 3, 21 WMPD, DWLS, 21 to 30,298. July 12, 21 PBPD, robbery by SS, pos morphine, pos Xanax, pos oxycodone, pos para. 21 to 36,063. She worked on many cases for MPD from August 2020 through April 2021. Cantardi, Rock. Confidential address. Mandatory disclosure final order effective May 20, 21, stating Rock Cantardi's criminal justice certification is revoked. Delatorre, Michael. Cocoa Police Department. Judge Mal found this officer's testimony not credible by written order in case 2017 CF 31176. Order attached. Response by CPD Chief of Police detailing internal investigation rebutting findings of the court. Letter attached. Name address. Eisen, Christopher not at per unserved subpoena. Brady, pending charges for felony battery stemming from his action of striking a handcuffed detainee in the back of his patrol vehicle, resulting in said detainee having to get 4 stitches. Prosecuted by Asa Sammons in Seminole South. Ford, Patrick Brevard County Sheriff's Office. Brady disclosure, was arrested for DV battery in case #16mm25159, case was no. Filed June 2016. Freitag, Jonathan no longer with BCSO. Deputy terminated during probationary period due to allegations from his time with Fairfax Police Agency. Was subject to IAs for possible unlawful stop/bias. But resigned before anything sustained. Copy of letter from Fairfax attached. Galazi, Nicholas confidential address. Brady disclosure, pled to culpable negligence as LIO to attempted manslaughter in case #052017CF17587AXXX. Gray, Sige Coco Police Department. Previously badge number 160 with PBPD/Brady disclosure, per email from Bill Respes on January 12, 2018, and sworn complaint of SGT Henschel, while working for PBPD, on August 12, 2017. Officer initially denied having property in her possession that needed to be turned into evidence, but upon being asked again later told SGT Henschel that she only had a DL and social security card, that she took from a suspect that said they were stolen, in her possession from her previous shift. However, later, officer told CPL Fuchs that she also had 2 credit cards which she failed to disclose to SGT Henschel. Hafza, Youssef confidential address. Brady disclosure, defendant in a pending second-degree murder/attempted murder case, #2016 CF31552. Hernandez Martin, Luis confidential information. Previous badge number 3258W/MPD. Judge Mal found this officer's testimony not credible by written order in case 2017 CF31176. Order is attached. Response by CPD Chief of Police detailing internal investigation rebutting findings of court. Attached. Officer charged with battery in Brevard County after FDLE investigation in or 04-0021. Habas, Cavan no longer with CBPD. Name address. Brady disclosure, per email from Michael Hill/Greg Konietzka on May 4, 2018, officer falsely reported a crime, ag assault, by calling in the defendant tried to hit him with his car, and a fleeing/eluding charge was added to the defendant's case. 052018 CF24626, that case has since been dropped. Security video from inner room disputes the officer's account and an internal affairs investigation has commenced. Officer has been suspended from duty. Jones, Christopher confidential address. Brady issue, sustained findings by Coco PD of false and fraudulent insurance claims. FS 817.234, Go 02103, A, 9, Code of Conduct Untruthfulness, Go 02103, C, 6, Code. Falsifying official documents, Go 07304, E, 1, Violation of pursued policy. Findings. Made July 12, 2016 by LT Dovale. Coker, David confidential address. Brady disclosure, officer was found in violation of multiple BCSO policies on July 12, 2018, part of which involved misrepresentation, made during his application for a search warrant. Lib. Brett confidential address. Formerly with RPD, Brady, pending charges for petty theft. He was given to Cellular telephones by victims in a criminal use of personal ID case. Someone had compromised the victim's Amazon account and placed 5 different orders. Fraudulently, when the items showed up, the victims called law enforcement to turn them over. He elected not to place the cellular telephones, valued at less than $300 but more than $100, into evidence, but rather, put them in his garage, where he kept them for 8 months. Prosecuted by Asa Salmons in Seminole, South. Lemons, Richard. Confidential address. Brady disclosure, per email from Bill Respes May 14, 2018, officer has pending criminal charges for battery DV, being prosecuted by Seminole County Sal. Lopez, Jesus. Melbourne Police Department. Brady, per memo from MPD Chief Mims dated May 18, 17, officer had 2 sustained IA complaints for violating GO 26.2.2 conduct on and off duty, and for GO 42.1.3 preliminary investigations. Officer was suspended for 20 hours without pay. Also, IA investigator recommended a finding of dishonesty by this officer. See Bill Respes or Justin Keene for copy of memo for more details. Manning, Robert. Confidential address. Robert Manning's internal investigation by PBPD into allegations of falsifying an official record and admin code of falsifying of city records was sustained by PBPD Chief Moya. See imaged PBPD investigative report. Miller, Matthew. Confidential address. Per MPD 06202008, Officer Miller is still there. Brady disclosure, per email from Bill Respes on December 29, 2017, officer was suspended without pay in 2016 for making false entries into MPD timesheet. See MPD IA/Criminal Justice Standards and Training Commission case #2015-011. Name. Address. Monda, Douglas. Confidential address. Brady issue, per letter from Phil Archer to Chief Cantaloupe dated April 6, 2017. Officer testified under oath untruthfully regarding his knowledge of a potential witness in the case and her participation as a confidential informant. Officer specifically denied that he had any contact with her or that she was working for him in any capacity. Officer admitted to the AASA after deposition that he was untruthful to protect the identity and safety of HTE witness, also per ASA Jason Anderson, on May 23, 17 during a VOP hearing in case #2016 CF20215 RE, new law case. #2017 CF10324, Det. Jonathan Brady informed Asa Anderson that Monda's rendition of the facts in case were incorrect as he was present with Monda at that time and that defendant did not strike or kick Officer Monda as alleged in Monda's case report and that the defendant was passively resisting to exiting the bathroom. Murphy, Christine no longer with FDLE. Brady disclosure, per a letter dated October 2, 2018, FDLE notified the SAU that during an internal quality review of cases worked by SCLA Murphy, 2 errors were found. Where SCLA Murphy's conclusions stated the comparisons were inconclusive. Where in fact the correct results were determined to be identifications, the errors were found during the technical review process before any reports were issued. See documents attached to stack directory entry. Narvaez, Johnny. Confidential address. There are allegations of untruthfulness that were sustained by BCSO in CR 19-400 and 9478. The memorandum for the administrative investigation is imaged. Knowles, Gabriel. Confidential address. Brady disclosure, officer found to have violated MPD policy for dishonesty. Improperly handled a traffic stop and was dishonest to his supervisor about it. Per MPDIA case hashtag 2017-020 an email from Asa Greg Konieczka dated April 20, 2018. Pimentel, Oscar Coco Police Department. Brady, subject of a sustained complaint involving allegations of untruthfulness and failure to change address on his DL per report of CPD dated May 21, 2015 in complaint hashtag 15-10-04 IA, officer was involved in a single car crash and was not truthful to the investigating trooper about what happened and also about how long he lived at the address on his DL, said 2 weeks when that was not the case. Ponce, Enrique probation and parole. Brady disclosure, per email from Asa Greg Konieczka on February 27, 2018, P.O. Ponce. Admitted to taking $250 from a defendant/probationer to make the defendant/probationer's 50 hours of community service be entered as completed. With the court, P.O. Ponce essentially admitted to committing official misconduct/theft by false pretenses. Kaiser, Sajid Office of the Medical Examiner. Name address. POC is Tiffany Bauer. Tiffany.bauer@brevardfl.gov, Brady issue, negligence and violation of rules. Autopsies, see email sent by Asa Bill Respes on September 1, 2015 for details and follow-up. Email on June 16 Medical Examiners Commission gave Dr. Kaiser 1-year probation and will do a surprise inspection to examine 2016 cases. If no irregularities found, he can be early termed from that probation. Ringfield, Tina Brevard County Sheriff's Office, ID Unit. Updated Brady disclosure as of 5/10/19 occupation, latent print examiner. Brady issue, incorrectly verified a misidentification of a latent print performed by another examiner. This misidentification was caught prior to anything happening on that case. The misidentification occurred on October 23, 2013. As a result, Ms. Ringfield self-reported to the International Association for Identification and surrendered her certification with that organization. A copy of this letter is attached to this disclosure. Subsequently, Ms. Ringfield went through a recertification process and was recertified with the IAI on July 17, 2014. A copy of the recertification letter is also attached to this disclosure. See email from Asa Bill Respes sent on October 9, 2014 for details. Not an officer. Ms. Ringfield failed a certification test she took in March of 2019. Because of this failure, she is a latent print examiner but not a certified latent print examiner. She can retake the test in March of 2020. Written hour, James no longer with CBPD. Former badge number 218W/PBPD/Brady, per Bill Respes on October 11, 2017 admitted to using meth and obtained it from his citizen contacts. Roberts, Jason confidential address. Deputy Roberts has been terminated from the Brevard County Sheriff's Office. BCSO, after having been found by BCSO to have violated BCSO policies and procedures, Section 400.00 General Professional Responsibilities, Section 400.05 Insubordination, Section 400.06 Compliance with Law and Regulation, and Section 400.38 Intoxication on and off duty. Writer, Anthony Brevard County Sheriff's Office. Brady disclosure, defendant in a battery case, hashtag 052017mm16297A, which was no filed in March 2017. Reimer, Audrey, Brooke, Melbourne Police Department. This officer was arrested for DUI in Brevard case 2018 CT 47429. The case was no filed on October 30, 2018. Former last name of Poole. Sarivola, Francis confidential address. Brady issue, alleged to have committed criminal mischief $1,000, felony, in BCSO. CR hashtag 17-101076 when he was being evicted from his condo, allegations are that he damaged granite countertops, bathtubs, toilets, and walls, and he was seen with a hammer in his hand during the time witnesses heard banging noises. Case was no. Filed as a result of settlement between officer and the victim. S. Name address. Shiner, James confidential address. There is an allegation of the use of excessive force regarding criminal cases. 2019 CT 11536 and 2019 MM 11484. The chief of CBPD reinstated OFC Shiner on May 10, 19. The defendant in case number 2018 CF 33601, through his attorney, believes this officer used excessive force under the circumstances of this case. OFC Shiner was suspended on June 29, 19 regarding allegations of an unsatisfactory performance, leading to an unlawful arrest in CBPD CR hashtag 191404, clerk hashtag 2019 MM 30814. Shrum, Antoinette Pombay Police Department. Also goes by Tony, last name formerly Mercicado, McGee and McGee Mercicado // Brady disclosure, Parasa Stacey Salmons November 16, 2017, was inconsistent regarding information she provided in ANSI, versus that which she provided during a deposition, concerning her bias towards a defendant. Stewart, Paul no longer with MPD. Mandatory disclosure: this MPD officer has been charged with DV battery and improper exhibition with a dangerous weapon, 21-48853 MMA. As of November 23, 21, the case is pending for a Veterans Court application. MPD has served him with his termination papers. The IA is not yet complete. Stowers, Angela confidential address. Brady issue, under current investigation by FDLE for falsification of child protective investigation records in the Florida Safe Families Network and DCF Central Database, per letter from Amy H. Young, Office of Inspector General. Dated November 9, 15. Von Edwins, George confidential address. Brady disclosure, Parasa Stacey Salmons on November 16, 2017, witness did not disclose during ANSI that he had located marijuana on the person of a witness in a murder trial. Resigned from PBPD. Worthy, Nicholas confidential information. Brady disclosure, defendant in a pending neglect of child and drug paraphernalia case, hashtag 052018CF18500A. Directory mandatory disclosure warning. Name address. Adorno Rodriguez, Oscar. Brady, per October 6, 17 email from Stacey Salmons, LPO stole from employer. Arias, Jonathan confidential address. Officer Arias was the subject of disciplinary action by the Longwood Police Department, LPD, stemming from his violation of LPD Enforcement Policy 3, regarding motor vehicle apprehension, and General Order 1, regarding standards of conduct. False statements and reports. Armagon, Garfield confidential address. Brady, 2016 FDLE investigation into allegations that he committed possession of cannabis with intent to sell or deliver, F3, and official misconduct, F3, however, sell. Elected not filed criminal charges. See email from Asa Stacey Salmons dated October 31, 2016 for more detail. Bender, Jason Seminole County Sheriff's Office. Brady disclosure, per email from Asa Stacey Salmons, Jason Bender was prosecuted for grand theft of a controlled substance in case number 16-2500 CFA. Bender, Jeffrey confidential address. On September 20, 2019, Officer Bender was arrested by the Oviedo Police Department. In case number 2019 MM8039A for the offense of DUI. Bunch, Jason confidential address. Brady issue, under active investigation by Sanford Police Department. Camacho, Lewis Winter Springs Police Department. Individual was the subject of a citizen complaint made to WSPD regarding an incident that occurred while he was on duty and that led to his termination during the probationary period of his employment. WSPD ran the fact pattern of the incident by the intake ASA assigned to their department and FDLE and were advised that there was an insufficient basis for the matter to proceed. Castile, Jason confidential address. Name address. Brady, per email from Stacy Salmons February 5, 2018, officer suspended without pay. Pending a criminal investigation by FDLE re, accusations involving the officers' truthfulness and veracity. Per email from Stacy Salmons April 6, 2018, officer was charged by information with perjury by false written declaration, F3, and perjury. Not in an official proceeding, M1, in Seminole Clerk Case #2018 CF1101B, September 6, 2018, officer pled to count 2, perjury not in official proceeding, M1, FLA Stat. S 837.012. Adjudication was withheld, court costs, status hearing subsequently held March 4, 2019. Wherein court confirmed officer had voluntarily relinquished his law enforcement certificate, as memorialized in notice of filing in the court file. Cleveland, SHERI Sanford Police Department. Brady disclosure, Cleveland was involved in an FDLE investigation, or 14-0152, in June 2018, regarding allegations that she offered alcohol for sale without a license, as part of a gift basket side business she had. The Seminole County State Attorney's Office determined that there were no grounds for Cleveland to be charged with any offenses, but alcoholic beverages and tobacco, ABT, indicated that it intended to admonish Ms. Cleveland regarding the impropriety and illegality of such sales in the future by way of her being issued some type of form/letter. Kramer, Evan St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office. Brady has been arrested for sexual battery, per email from ASA Stacy Salmons. Dated January 26, 17. Dandler, Matthew Oviedo Police Department. Brady, terminated from Oviedo PD for insubordination. He has an appeal pending with the city manager. Per Stacy Salmons December 7, 15, defendant was also prosecuted in Seminole County case number 2017 CF553A for 1 count of shooting into a vehicle and 2 counts of aggravated battery. Asa Fowler from the Brevard Saunal. Prost said case. DeHaan, David Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Crime Laboratory Analyst. Brady notation, per a letter dated April 14, 2020, from FDLEJROC Chief of Forensic Services Lisa Zeller, during an internal quality review of cases worked by the analyst, some nonconformities were identified with cases where the examiner stated there were no prints of value. There were also inconsistencies in some cases excluding individuals during complex comparisons or database searches. There were no concerns with cases worked by the analyst which resulted in a conclusion of identification. The letter is under the image tab for this witness's relationship profile in Stack, along with emails sent to the 5 impacted agencies, LPD, SPD, CPD, OPD, and SCSO, should you need a copy of them for disclosure in discovery. Note date, April 22, 2020 by S. Salmons. Del Rosso, David confidential address. David Del Rosso was the subject of an FDLE investigation into allegations that he violated Florida's public records laws when he deleted text messages from his agency-issued phone in June 2019. It was determined that there was insufficient evidence to pursue the prosecution of Mr. Del Rosso for either a crime or a non-criminal infraction. FDLE case number or 14-0168, SA case number 1720 SA02862. Note date, March 2, 2020 by S. Sammons. Name address. Diaz, Frank no longer with SCSO Detention Center. Corrections Deputy Diaz fired after SCSO internal revealed he falsified an inmate. Check report. Edwards, Maurice Seminole County Sheriff's Office. Deputy suspended for false statements to Department Image of IA report included. Gackenbach, John confidential address. Brady disclosure, was defendant in aggravated assault, X2, case, #12CF03049A, pled. To LIO improper exhibition of a weapon in 2014. Gagliardi, Tom Dillards. Brady, 2 notations, 1, resigned from ASPD for showing nude photos of himself to Citizen, per Stacey Salmon's email January 12, 16. 2, Thomas Gagliardi was both the suspect and victim in a cross-complaint that was received from ASPD and handled by our domestic violence unit involving his wife, ASPD officer Stephanie Gagliardi. Both cases were closed by our Domestic Violence Division without charges being filed. The case numbers are 1719 M12160 and 1719 M12161. Gagliardi, Thomas Dillards. Brady, 2 notations, 1, resigned from ASPD for showing nude photos of himself to Citizen, per Stacey Salmon's email January 12, 16. 2, Thomas Gagliardi was both the suspect and victim in a cross-complaint that was received from ASPD and handled by our domestic violence unit involving his wife, ASPD officer Stephanie Gagliardi. Both cases were closed by our Domestic Violence Division without charges being filed. The case numbers are 1719 M12160 and 1719 M12161. Gagliardi, Thomas confidential address. Brady, 2 notations, 1, resigned from ASPD for showing nude photos of himself to Citizen, per Stacey Salmon's email January 12, 16. 2, Thomas Gagliardi was both the suspect and victim in a cross-complaint that was received from ASPD and handled by our domestic violence unit involving his wife, ASPD officer Stephanie Gagliardi. Both cases were closed by our Domestic Violence Division without charges being filed. The case numbers are 1719 M12160 and 1719 M12161. Gagliardi, Stephanie Altamonte Springs Police Department. Name address. Formerly known as Stephanie Illara. Stephanie Gagliardi was both the suspect and victim in a cross-complaint that was received from ASPD and handled by our domestic violence unit involving her husband, Davenport PD officer Thomas Gagliardi. Both cases were closed by our Domestic Violence Division without charges being filed. The case numbers are 1719 M12160 and 1719 M12161. Graham, Andrew confidential address. Brady, per email from Stacey Salmon's February 5, 2018, officer suspended without pay. Pending a criminal investigation by FDLE re, accusations involving the officers' truthfulness and veracity. Per email from Stacey Salmon's April 6, 2018, officer was charged by information with perjury by false written declaration, F3, perjury not in an official proceeding, M1, and false report to a law enforcement officer, M1, in Seminole Clerk Case # 2018 CF 1101A, September 13, 2018, Officer pled to count 3, false report to a law enforcement officer, M1, FLA Stat. S 837.05, 1, adjudication was withheld, court. Costs, status hearing subsequently held March 4, 2019, wherein court confirmed officer had voluntarily relinquished his law enforcement certificate, as memorialized in notice of filing in the court file. Henderson, Felicia, Seminole County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Henderson arrested for aggravated battery on September 14, 21 by Sanford Police Department CR # 21500003346. Case transferred to Brevard Office for charging decision and handling. Hernandez, David. Confidential address. Longwood Police Department, LPD, CPL. David Hernandez was the subject of an internal affairs investigation conducted by LPD. During the course of the investigation, LPD sustained a finding of the following department policy violations: conduct unbecoming an officer, employee harassment, violations of safety practices, and making false statements. CPL Hernandez's employment with the agency was terminated on September 28, 2020. Date of notation, October 6, 2020. By S. Sammons. Hinckley, Mickey. Loss Prevention Officer. Formerly SPD, Brady. While employed by Sanford PD, there was an IA on allegations that he threatened to deploy a taser on a trustee and taunting a trustee with fast food. The IA was determined to be founded and he was terminated. Per Stacy Sammons email December 7, 15. Irvin, Cynthia. Brady, per email from Stacy Sammons February 5, 2018, officer charged with failure to read liver property, a third-degree felony. Johnson, Carla. Seminole County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Johnson arrested on May 26, 21 by Winter Springs Police Department for felony criminal mischief. Report number 2,021,160,490. Name. Address. Johnson, Margaret. Confidential address. Margaret Johnson was the subject of a capious request in SA case number 1720F01862. SCSO case number 2020-711, wherein it was alleged that while in her professional capacity working for county probation, she committed the offense of unlawful use of a notary commission, F3, FLA Stat. S 117.05. The allegation is that she notarized her own signature on affidavits of violation that she signed for probation officers. None of the probation violation allegations were challenged or determined to be false. Johnson accepted an administrative pre-filing diversion offer whereby in exchange for her voluntary relinquishment of her notary commission, attestation that she will never seek a further notary commission, and payment of the SCSO costs of investigation, the state elected not to file charges. Note date, February 20, 2020. King, Jalcoby. Brady disclosure, per email of Stacy Sammons on March 13, 18, this SCSO detention deputy and LPO is presently a defendant in a Seminole County non-arrest case involving allegations of domestic violence. King, Jalcoby. Officer named as defendant in a Seminole County non-arrest case involving allegations of domestic violence. Report attached. Case no filed by DV Unit South for insufficient evidence. Dispo letter attached. Noeller, Timothy. City County Investigative Bureau. Officer Noeller's testimony was the subject of an order suppressing evidence issued on April 28, 2020, by Circuit Judge Marlene Alva in State v. Jonathan Reliford. Seminole County Clerk of the Court Case Number 2019 CF 1617A. Date of note, May 19, 2020. Coastal, Alexander. Confidential address. Brady, per email from Stacy Salmons December 15, 16, Def was dishonest during internal affairs investigation at SPD RE, dispute involving Roxanne Hulse, Officer Coastal, and Coastal's wife. Littles, Cynthia. Confidential address. Brady disclosure, per email from ASA Stacy Salmons on October 1, 2018, Littles was prosecuted in Seminole County case number 18-431 CFA for the offense of failure to read liver hired or leased personal property. Lizard, Larry Markovigi, Marco Publix, attention, management. Name address. Brady, I.S. a former Winter Park Police Department police officer, assigned to the Metropolitan Bureau of Investigation, who left the department in the throes of an internal affairs investigation into whether he gave false information to FDLE with regard to a public integrity investigation FDLE was conducting into officers at MBI. Was convicted following guilty verdicts at trial for 2 counts of false information to law enforcement during an investigation. Melendez, Jorge. Confidential address. Officer Jorge Melendez is presently being prosecuted in St. Johns County case number 190000709 CFA for the May 4, 2019, offenses of 1 count of DUI with serious bodily injury and 2 counts of DUI with damage to person or property. Mershon MacArthur, Michael. This individual is being prosecuted in case number 2020-31 CFA by our office. The allegation is that as a manager at Value Pawn, he forged false pawn tickets and pawned a ring left behind by a customer. He was fired from Value Pawn due to his actions. Note, May 6, 2020 by S. Salmons. Monchon, Milciades, Tony, Altamonte Springs Police Department. Other spelling for first name, Milciades per officer. Warning, officer charged with 1 count of animal cruelty in Seminole County, case #21-03147 MMA. Charges pending. Mon, Hunter, Florida Highway Patrol. Trooper Mon was prosecuted in Orange County case number 2020 CF004667A for the offenses of official misconduct and falsifying records. He no longer works for the Florida Highway Patrol as a result. Note, April 21, 2020 by Stacy Salmons. Moyes, Jonathan. Moyes is a former technologist with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Our office received word that this witness had Scrivener's errors regarding his work. 2 letters were received on the topic and have been uploaded under the image tab of his relationship profile in Stack. Name address. Murphy, Christine. Confidential address. Brady disclosure, per a letter dated October 2, 2018, FDLE notified the SOW that during an internal quality review of cases worked by SCLA Murphy, 2 errors were found. Where SCLA Murphy's conclusions stated the comparisons were inconclusive, where in fact the correct results were determined to be identifications, the errors were found during the technical review process before any reports were issued. See documents attached to Stack directory entry. November, Sealstra. Confidential address. Officer November was found by the Sanford Police Department to have violated the agency's policies governing truthfulness and its standards of conduct. His employment was terminated in January 2019. Pelton, Robert. Confidential address. ASPD conducted an internal affairs investigation into LT Pelton. The investigation stemmed from LT Pelton having entered an improper code into his payroll/time manager system and then putting in notes that were false in order that he could obtain time off from a leave bank that would have not otherwise been available to him. The leave entry made it look as though he was taking bereavement leave for a family member, when in reality the leave was for the death of a close friend. The investigation was sustained for a violation of dishonesty and fraud. Raimondo, Anthony Sanford Police Department. Brady, in a hearing regarding a criminal case before Judge Alva, defendant was Dominic Gartmond, 592009 CF 4910, judge found that he had lied about signage, justifying his traffic stop of the defendant. The court ultimately determined that the resulting search was illegal. Judge Alva issued an order finding that the officer acted in a pretextual manner and in bad faith. Per email of Stacey Salmons. December 7, 2015. Ramos, Ramon. Brady disclosure, per email from Stacey Salmons on March 22, 2018, witness was arrested in case number 18-1803 MMA, and is presently charged by information with 2 counts of DV battery. Rice, Paul Seminole County Sheriff's Office. Brady issue, arrested for DUI December 31, 14, pled to reckless driving, per email from Stacey Salmons November 4, 2015. Roman, Luis Altamonte Springs Police Department. On March 7, 2019, our office was notified that in 2005, Senior Police Officer Roman was the subject of an internal affairs investigation that was sustained on false reports and booking. In 2016, Senior Police Officer Roman was the subject of an internal affairs investigation that was sustained on truthfulness. Name address. Santiago, Joseph confidential address. Brady, arrested for a DV battery in May 2016 and has voluntarily surrendered his certificate as a law enforcement officer. Santiago, Stephen confidential address. Brady, while employed by Sanford PD, was involved in a traffic crash, left the scene, and led law enforcement on a short pursuit. The IA was sustained and he was terminated by Sanford PD back in 2013. Per Stacey Salmons email December 7, 2015. Sims, Kevin Seminole County Fire Rescue. Kevin Sims is the suspect in a CAPIAS request received by our office under SCSO case number 20200001605, date of notation, March 12, 2020. Taverner, Chad confidential address. Brady, terminated from the sheriff's office. He lied during an investigation into the events leading up to the murder of Chericia Brown and her 2 children by Henry Brown in April 2016. Thornton, Matthew Sanford Police Department. Officer Thornton was the subject of an FDLE investigation, or 14-0183, regarding an allegation that he mishandled and hid evidence in 2003 and 2009/2010 in reference to a criminal investigation that he led. Documents are being attached to Officer Thornton's relationship profile in Stack. The digital copy of the investigative materials will be physically maintained. See Megan Ellis should you need access to the digital copy of the investigative materials. Formerly with CCIB. Tomich, Christopher confidential address. Brady issue, resigned from employment following an internal affairs investigation that determined he had intentionally withheld information in a report, per email. From Asa Stacey Salmons, July 26, 2017. Valentine, Jimmy. Name address. Brady disclosure, per email from Stacey Salmons on October 1, 2018, this defense expert tried to charge the state an exorbitant rate for appearing at a deposition and was forced by court order to accept the JAC rate. Witness was rude to the ASA at the deposition, Documents attached to this witness in stack. Villalona, Rebecca. Confidential address. Per email from ASA Stacey Salmons on August 28, 2017, subject of a 2016/2017 Internal Affairs investigation that resulted in a finding that an alleged violation of Sanford PD Rules and Regulations 200-1 Standards of Conduct was sustained. Sanford PD Rules and Regulations 200-1 Standards of Conduct requires that an employee shall not engage in any conduct which constitutes neglect of duty, conduct unbecoming, or any act that is likely to adversely affect the discipline, good order, or reputation of the department. Warren, Quinton. Seminole County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Warren is the defendant in case number 2020 MM979A, date of notation, March 12, 2020.